On the way back from Tibet, I saved a female backpacker who was being attacked by a pack of wolves. While driving, the girl suddenly came over and groped me from below, looking alluring. Some female backpackers have an unspoken rule of hitchhiking, do you know it, brother? I stopped the car and spent the rest of the night with her. However, the girlfriend's rich boyfriend drove after us. The girl who had just finished communicating with me at close quarters suddenly turned on me, crying that I had raped her. I tried to argue, but the angry rich kid pulled out a knife and stabbed me to death. The body was devoured by wolves, and the rapist's label stuck. My parents were blamed for teaching their son to be a rapist and were killed by internet trolls. In remorse, I was reborn, back to the moment when I first discovered the female backpacker being attacked by wolves. This time, I still chose to save her. However, I had already quietly launched a hidden live broadcast trial, just to send the ungrateful person to the next hell on earth. 01. Night. On the remote road in the Tibetan region, my eyes felt as if they had been suddenly covered, and I instantly fell into darkness. I slammed on the brakes, and a shrill screeching sound came from the space, and the truck lurched violently. I was leaning over the steering wheel, and it took a long time for me to come back to my senses. My clothes were soaked with cold sweat. My hands and feet were shaking. It seemed like I had just had a dream, but also like it was a story that really happened. In my dream, I saved a female travel companion who was being besieged by wolves. She introduced herself as Lu Ruyan, and said that she had quarreled with her boyfriend, a rich second generation, and he had simply abandoned her by the roadside. Leaving her alone at night was the same as pushing her to her death. So I kindly offered her a ride. As we drove along, she sat next to me and made all kinds of suggestive remarks, while her little hand kept groping my crotch. She said she was grateful for my rescue and wanted to repay me with sex. I had heard rumors about some poor female backpackers hitchhiking and offering sex in return for a ride. I thought she was one of those open-minded people. Faced with her hot body and pretty face, I, a man, really couldn't help myself. I immediately stopped the car and had a hearty and thorough sex battle with her in the car. I thought this was a consensual romantic encounter on the road. But I never expected that just after I had finished communicating with her face-to-face and my clothes were still unbuttoned, a luxury car pulled up in front of the truck and a man with a big pompadour got out. The man shone a searchlight on the car and then rushed over and started kicking it wildly. I'm so angry. You bitch, you just couldn't help yourself. It was that rich second-generation boyfriend of Lu Ruyan's. The second-generation rich guy kicked the car while screaming at the top of his lungs. I was a little dazed. After all, I had slept with the man's nominal girlfriend, so it was impossible not to panic. But I also had some confidence. Before, this person had ignored his girlfriend's life and left her on the road in the middle of the night. If it weren't for me, she would probably just be a pile of bones by now. Besides, it was consensual. While I was still torn between heaven and earth, Lu Ruyan hurriedly pulled up her pants and rushed downstairs to cry. She even insisted that I had raped her and that she had been forced to do it. How could I, a weak woman, alone, possibly resist? Oh, my dear, you must believe me. I was confused and got out of the car quickly to explain. But the rich second generation didn't give me the chance at all, and pulled a knife out from behind him and stabbed me directly. I fell down with my hands covering my abdomen. Lu Ruyan was even more ruthless. It seemed that she was afraid that I would die and reveal the secret, so she immediately grabbed the dagger and stabbed me 3 times in a crazed rage, each stab to the heart. I died instantly, my eyes and mouth wide open. I was so wronged. My soul drifted away. These two went all out and drove to a remote area and threw my body into a deep lake for the wolves to eat. Later, they even played the role of the victim, posting videos and essays to publicize the case, saying that Lu Ruyan was raped by a man with a heart of a beast on the road to Tibet, and imploring netizens to find the murderer. The video went viral. The rich second generation saw the surge in followers and discovered a business opportunity. He even used his wealth to continue the hype. The two of them went live on the internet. Within a short period of time, they had 1 million followers. They made a fortune. But I was thrust into the limelight, into a sea of troubles. Netizen comments were one-sided, with all kinds of people belittling, insulting, and abusing me online. No one noticed that I had already been devoured by the wolves, and there was nothing left of me. My parents don't know anything about this because they don't use the internet, and they just kept asking where I was. But soon after, I was hunted down and my information was dug up. A large group of radicals gathered in front of my house. They hurled insults, mocked me, and splashed paint. Some radicals even went so far as to attack my parents, saying that they had failed to teach their son properly and had raised a monster. The two elderly people, nearly 60 years old, took more than a dozen slaps in the face. My parents also wanted to find out the truth and seek justice for me. But how could they deal with the verbal and written attacks from the netizens? In the end, my father was so angry that he suffered a stroke and passed away, and my mother, who had lost her husband and son, jumped into a river out of grief. All of this was entirely thanks to Lou Ruyan and the others. 02. I gripped the steering wheel tightly, my teeth clenching. I knew it wasn't a dream. The dull pain in my chest felt like a knife had just been pulled from my heart. I wasn't dead, and I didn't have any injuries. I had been reborn. I had been reborn on the eve of discovering that female traveler Lou Ruyan had been surrounded by wolves. I sat in the car for a long time, slowly recovering. I pushed the gear stick forward, adjusting the car to move forward. Sure enough, it wasn't long before I saw that small, familiar but inconspicuous hill again. It was near there that Lou Ruyan had been abandoned. When the wolves approached, she was so terrified that she tried to climb to the top of the hill, only to be surrounded on all sides. If I didn't save her, she would definitely die. But, this time, I would save her, because I wanted to let her experience hell on earth. Experience the pain that my family and I have endured. I want to make her life a living hell. And that rich brat. I already have a vague plan in mind. I stop the car, grab my drill and head to the mound with ease. 03. In the night, the wolf's eyes are terrifyingly bright. Together with the occasional wolf howl, it is enough to break anyone's psychological defenses. Including my former self, I was indeed afraid, but the thought of someone being trapped made saving someone a matter of instinct. But now, I feel that my adrenaline has already soared to a certain level. Save someone? No, I'm here to destroy a group of people. Is this the power of hatred? Help, don't come over, get lost. Lou Ruyan's helpless voice was mixed in with the howling of the wolves. Looking closer, she was holding her hands against the ground and kept backing away. Her pink mini skirt was already dirty, but in this environment, it created a different kind of contrast. Like a weak little rabbit? It may still look a bit like that now. But later, when she gets into the car, she'll be a slutty beast, a squirming machine that can devour men. Big brother, please help me. Lou Ruyan saw me and, as if she had found a way to survive on the line between life and death, stood up nervously and excitedly, waving her hands non-stop. There was light in her eyes, radiating out. I snorted inwardly, waved my steel bar, and drove away the wolves. Because of the seeds of hatred, I even injured a few wolves. They are animals, just like those two men. Damn, you enjoyed eating my flesh, didn't you? Brother, you are truly my benefactor. Oh. I could feel the warmth of her breasts. This was the fatal point in my previous life. But I was fully prepared to relive it. Okay, you're welcome. Let's get in the car first, it's not safe here. I was anxious to get her in the car, not because I wanted to do anything. But there were internal and external recorders in the car. In my previous life, although some of it was recorded, no one gave me the chance to explain the truth. The recorder was also dismantled and taken away by the rich second generation. Before I was reborn, the car driven by the rich second generation into the uninhabited deep lake was never discovered. 04. Lou Ruyan got into the car with me and sat in the car for a while before she recovered, finally not so scared and nervous. After drinking some water, she began to tell me how she was abandoned. She said that she had misjudged the person, that he was arrogant just because he had a bit of money, and that she would definitely break up with him when she went back and scratch him like a Halusi. I smiled and laughed throughout, occasionally agreeing with her. In fact, deep down I was already thinking of ways to get rid of this slut. This is what contrast is. Go ahead, say whatever you want, I'll record it all. I can't imagine how shocking it will be when it's released in the future. Then she started talking about her family. I don't need her to tell me about it. I already figured it out when my soul was wandering. Lou Ruyan's parents are corporate executives, and they are from a family business. That's why she would be manipulated by the second generation. As for the second generation, I hate him even more than Lou Ruyan. The second generation is named Han Zai, the eldest son of the Han group. I learned this information after I died. And I learned that 3 years ago, the Han group forcibly requisitioned our land, used many connections to oppress us, hired thugs to harass us if we didn't sign the contract, and even directly threatened us with death to take revenge on my family. At the time, it caused a huge uproar. Glass was smashed and dead dogs were thrown at the door. I have also thought of many ways to solve this, but none of them worked. So in this life, I will settle old scores and new grudges together. Brother, you really are a good person. Lu Ruyan shifted her body to face me, crossed her legs, and her snow-white skin, wrapped up in her skirt, showed a white-pink dividing line. I only glanced at her, and Lu Ruyan pretended to use her hand to dust the dirt off her thighs. Cracking. Very resilient. I have to say, this woman is definitely a stunner. I still can't forget the intense collision of those half an hour. Brother, do you know about portourist girls? There is actually an unspoken rule when they go on a portour. 05. Lu Ruyan changed the subject and asked me flirtatiously. I pretended to nod knowingly. I know, I always go on this line, I understand this. So have you encountered it? Lu Ruyan asked me curiously. I could see her chest rising and falling, which meant she was getting into it. In my previous life, there were not so many twists and turns, because the hints were already very obvious. After asking this question, I stopped the car and started directly. But in this life, I have to explore all her dark sides and film them all. I want everyone to see how this woman seduced me. Later, when we get out of the car, how she slanders me in contrast. I smiled slightly. I have encountered it, but I am not the kind of person who likes to take advantage of people in trouble. I will help if I can. She laughed. But she leaned over even more charmingly. I don't believe that men can hold back in that area. If they can, it's because they haven't met the right prey. As she spoke, Lu Ruyan lightly pulled her clothes open to reveal a large expanse of her fragrant shoulders. Big brother, you helped me, I can't let you waste your efforts, do you want to have some fun? Even though I knew the consequences, I couldn't help swallowing. Lu Ruyan became even more unrestrained after seeing this, and raised her leg and stretched it over, placing it on my thigh. Inside, white, faintly visible. Beauty, I am a person with high demands in that regard, can you do it? Lu Ruyan covered her mouth, and after a long time, she let it go and said softly. I'm very good at it, and I'm afraid that your waist won't be able to handle it if you keep driving. After saying this, she moved to the middle seat of the van and reached over to touch me, regardless of the fact that I was driving. I felt like I had been electrocuted. Big brother, you drive your own way, I'll drive mine. Lu Ruyan suddenly lowered her head. I was torn between torment and excitement. But I was always able to control myself. It was clear that Lu Ruyan had reached her limit, and after pulling back, she kept pushing me. How can you hold back like that? Hurry up and stop the car, I can't hold back any longer. After saying that, this woman actually went about tidying up the rear of the car and spread out the blankets. Lying on her side, her clothes half open, she was completely exposed. I held my ground, raised my hand to check the time, and looked at the situation in front of me. It was almost time, it should be here, and in half an hour, her rich boyfriend would show up. But half an hour seems like a long time. It turned out to be fate's arrangement, and I had to follow it. Lu Ruyan forced the car into neutral and threw herself into my arms for a kiss. Then she pulled me to the back seat. The whole time, Lu Ruyan was on top. The time was exactly half an hour, not a minute more, not a minute less. Before I could catch my breath, a car came speeding up from behind. When the headlights appeared, Lu Ruyan didn't care at all, and even wanted to play peekaboo for excitement. All of this was filmed, and she didn't even notice the recorder in the driver's seat. 06. However, after a while, a car appeared. It was an expensive off-road vehicle. Lu Ruyan's body tightened, and she hurriedly and fiddlingly dressed, shouting out finished while she was doing it. It was exactly the same as the last life. It's over. My boyfriend is here, what did you just do to me? Lu Ruyan's face suddenly turned red, and she reached out to hit me. Pop. I clamped my left hand around her attacking hand, and swung my right hand hard. Lu Ruyan's face instantly turned red and swollen from the slap. She was dumbfounded, probably not expecting such an honest man as me to reach out and slap her without warning. I really wanted to tell her that I had been waiting a long time for that slap. You son of a bitch, you son of a bitch, you dare to hit me. Lu Ruyan still wanted to argue with me, and she clutched at me with her manicured nails. I opened the door and kicked her out. I then got out of the car, with a wrench tucked into my waistband. At that moment, the rich second-generation Hanzai also got out of the car. He frowned at the disheveled Lu Ruyan. "What are you doing? Playing in the field? Damn it, you're cheating on me." Hanzai was about to hit her too. Lu Ruyan knelt directly in front of him, burst into tears and pointed at me and cursed. "Husband, this son of a bitch saw that I was alone on the road and said all kinds of nice things to ask for a ride. I kept refusing, so he forced me into the car and I don't want to live anymore, but before I die, I will drag him down with me." 07. Lu Ruyan picked up a stone next to him and suddenly smashed it over my head. Dragging someone down with you is a lie, but trying to hide the truth is the truth. I dodged nimbly, but as a result, the windshield of the cab was smashed. This is great, the recorder facing outwards can now record not only the screen, but also the sound. Let the show begin. You'd better watch what you say and don't distort the facts. I let the cat out of the bag first, but didn't point it out directly. Pointing it out now will have little effect. Because these two will get married soon after the short video platform goes viral, so that the whole network can witness their love and their epic love that will never leave despite the rape. There will be many big anchors there. I think it will be more exciting to let the truth come out in the most important moment of your life in front of many relatives and friends and netizens across the country. But obviously Lu Ruyan didn't get her way, and she became anxious. She continued to pounce on me like a madwoman. I let her scratch me symbolically on purpose, leaving a bloody mark on my face. I can play the victim too. Hanzai's eyes suddenly turned red. He yanked Lu Ruyan to the side and walked towards me with veins bulging. This was the moment he would make his move. Hanzai reached for his waist with his right hand, and for a moment, I reached for the back of my waist, and we retreated in unison. Then, a bright dagger was thrust at me. I did my best to avoid it, and I deliberately delayed for a moment, just waiting for the recorder to capture it all. Finally, my arm was cut by the dagger. I realized that I couldn't delay any longer, so I pulled myself away and pulled out the wrench, which I smashed into Hanzai's arm. Hanzai let out a cry of pain and dropped the dagger. I quickly kicked it aside. Now that there was no dagger, I saw how he could play with me. Hanzai seemed to have gone crazy and pounced on me with his bare hands. Lu Ruyan was afraid that he would not be able to defeat him and followed closely behind. But these two guys who grew up in a greenhouse were ultimately not as tough as me. As long as I stayed within the range recorded by the recorder, I would deliberately miss and let them hit me a few times. Once I stepped out of range, I swung my arms wide and hit the two of them hard. The fight lasted about 20 minutes. The two of them were tired and supported each other as they groaned in pain. They were bruised, their mouths were unintelligible, and they were covered in wounds. In contrast, a wonderful arc had long since appeared at the corner of my mouth. 08. Dare you tell me your name? Son of a bitch, I'm going to tear you limb from limb. Hanzai couldn't beat me, so he started shooting his mouth off. But it wasn't really shooting his mouth off, his family really had the strength to do it. My ultimate goal is to make them experience a life in hell like mine. So, with these videos from the recorder so far, it's not enough. I need to up the ante a bit. I'll introduce myself. Su Chang, works for C-City XXOO Transportation Company. Ha. You really have some nerve, C-City. Do you know who I am? I'm the young master of the C-City Han Group, so you can just wait for your death. Do you consider that a threat? I continue to bait him. Hanzai, who doesn't know that the whole conversation is being recorded, seems to be preparing to overwhelm me with his sense of superiority. He's getting really cocky. Threaten you? Who the hell do you think you are? You're not even worthy of being threatened by me, Hanzai. Let me tell you, the Han Group has connections with both the black and white worlds. See, there's a guy surnamed Lu in Jia Village. Do you know how he went crazy? Do you know what happened to his daughter? It's useless to tell you this, unless you kneel down and beg for mercy right now, and then cripple your third leg yourself, otherwise I'll make you regret it for the rest of your life. Lu Liang of Jia Village, Hanzai was talking about him. His 19-year-old daughter was gang-raped and committed suicide by drowning, and he himself went crazy. It was only because he bumped into someone's car while driving a farm machine on the street. When he was escorted home to pay compensation, the other party took a fancy to his daughter. Few people know about this incident, and I never expected that the perpetrator was this Hanzai. Son of a bitch. I rolled up my sleeves and walked over. Outside the scope of the recorder, Hanzai, smug and arrogant, was beaten up. As I hit him, I screamed. The sound was so loud that it drowned out Hanzai's voice. Lu Ruyan tried to come over and stop the fight, but I hit her with a few big punches, knocking her out. After being beaten again, both of them looked momentarily dazed. Maybe they were shocked. I learned their identities, so why would they dare to continue fighting? Or maybe it was because they were being beaten unilaterally, but why was I screaming louder than they were? I didn't want to explain, so I just framed them. Did they just get beaten? No, the record will prove it. Although the screen wasn't recording, I was the one screaming the loudest and most pitifully. I'm the victim here. 09. You've got some nerve, you just wait for me. After resting for a while, the two of them felt a little stronger and moved closer to the buggy. I had already turned off the dashcam. Seeing that they were still so arrogant, I was ready to play with them some more. In my previous life, I was threatened with death by Hanzai's father. So in this life, why couldn't I give this kid a death threat in this no man's land? I picked up a steel bar and jumped out of the car. The two of them were so scared that they almost fell to the ground, and they tried to get into the car by rolling and crawling. As a result, I was the first to block the door. I kicked Hanzai over, and I held the cold steel rod against his throat. I said coldly, "Believe it or not, I will kill you." Hanzai's eyes widened in terror, and he trembled all over. He couldn't even speak. In this kind of deserted area, killing two people and feeding them to the wolves is very easy, and there is no way to prove who is right and who is wrong after death. Just like me in my previous life. So I understand his fear. I understand that his pants are soaked with incontinence. I understand that Lu Ruyan is crouching next to him, too afraid to say a word of comfort, or even to look at him. Big brother, I was wrong. Big brother, don't kill me. Let's just pretend this never happened. This bitch, oh no, this woman, you can have her if you want. I can also give you money, a lot of money. I have 500,000 yuan in cash in my car, I'll give it all to you. Please don't kill me. I picked up Hanzai and pushed him to the side of the SUV. He took a suitcase down, which was full of banknotes. The life of the rich is indeed simple and unadorned. Think about my two lives. I worked hard driving trucks, but I didn't make any money and I couldn't take care of my family. My father had an old illness, and whenever it rained, he would be in excruciating pain. The two of them had to make do with just a few acres of good farmland. Not only were they forcibly expropriated, they were also bullied and slapped in the face, which made them angry and die. If my incompetence in my past life was the result, then I will make up for it in this life. I only hesitated for a moment, and Hanzai immediately imagined a crisis. He fumbled and quickly took out his phone again. Big brother, if you let me off the hook, I'll give you another million. Ding, a certain letter has arrived, 1 million yuan. The money is in my pocket. These two people are like toys that have just escaped from the clutches of the devil. Hurry up and drive off in the off-road vehicle. I snorted at the two people who fled in a sorry state. The show, it seems, has only just begun. 10. Goods must be delivered to the customer on time. I continued driving on the road. However, I had already called my parents that night, asking them to move, without telling anyone or asking too many questions. After arranging everything, at 2 a.m., the company owner suddenly called me. Su-chan, where are you? On the way to deliver the goods. I didn't ask anymore. You've caused trouble. Hurry up and bring the car back and get out of here. I had never seen the boss yell like that before. I guess the pressure from the Han group had reached a critical point. Hanzai must have been furious, and he put pressure on me overnight. I didn't care. But from this moment on, I had to put on a show. I sobbed. Boss, I got beaten up, and you didn't even protect me, but you're firing me? Bullshit. The phone call even reached me, saying that you raped, intentionally injured, and extorted. Boss, you believe what other people say, but you don't believe a word I say? Don't give me that crap. They're from the Han group, and you're just a broken-down driver. I don't believe a word you say. Hurry up and give me back my car and get out of here. By the way, I'm docking your salary for this month. Damn it, you're nothing but trouble. The boss hung up after a scolding, and needless to say, he must have gone to take credit for the action. Like rats in a trap, they were squeezing me at this time to win their favor. But he didn't know that I had just been using the speakerphone. The recorder continued to record my tragic history. 11. As things developed, various messages came in one after the other as soon as it got light the next day. First came a call from the police, which I answered, but when they asked me where I was, I didn't say. I had also removed the GPS tracker. I pretended to be terrified and said bluntly that I was afraid of retaliation from the Han group. I hadn't done any of those things. After a few words, I hung up, and when I called back, they didn't answer. Then there was the internet, where short video platforms began to show my name and photos of me at work. They were accompanied by text descriptions. In addition to rape, intentional injury and extortion, there were actually speeding and hit and run. Everyone was pushing, and they all started slandering and spreading rumors. If it were someone else, they would definitely not be able to withstand the pressure at this time and jump out to clarify, releasing recorded videos. But when the bow is fully drawn, the string is full, and the energy is only released when it flies out. I remained silent. It was as if I had evaporated into thin air. I didn't contact anyone except my family. Of course, I couldn't send any more goods, as I was afraid of being arrested at the destination. 12. Time passed quickly, and I survived for half a month like a savage in the uninhabited area of Tibet, relying on the food in the car. I would never eat twice if I could eat once. Things developed just as they had in my previous life. As the temperature rose, the two of them couldn't help but go live streaming. In the live broadcast room, they denounced my actions and complained about the police's ineffective handling of the case, and that they still hadn't caught me. In fact, if things continued to develop like this, they would be happy not to catch me, especially Lu Ruyan. Although if I were caught, what I said would not necessarily be credible, it would definitely have an impact on her. If I didn't show my face, Lu Ruyan wouldn't have to worry about being exposed. And sure enough, on the 16th day, I received an anonymous message. "Brother, where are you? I've watched the videos online, and there's too much watered-down information. It so happens that I have a grudge against the Han group. Can we cooperate?" I'm 100% sure that this message was sent by Lu Ruyan and the others. Think about it logically. Who could have a grudge against the Han group and cooperate with someone as evil as me? I'm afraid they're not trying to find out my location and have evil intentions. I didn't reply, and let it go. Now the two have millions of followers, and the live broadcast is incredibly popular. I'm also glad that my parents don't use the internet, and since we moved, no one bothers us. They think I'm just out delivering goods. But I can't drag this on for too long, because if friends and relatives see it, sooner or later it will get to my parents. So I forced myself to hold off for another 3 days. On the 4th night, I updated my personal short video account with a new video. There was nothing explosive about it, just a text recounting the events and trying to clarify that I had been wronged. As I expected, the video got over 10,000 likes within a short time of being posted. Of course, there were a frightening number of trolls, and most of the comments were scolding me. I didn't care, and calculated that the two of them would have their wedding in about a week, fueled by the heat. My video didn't threaten them, it even helped. Han Zai and their short videos are being updated more frequently. Judging from the copy, it must be Lu Ruyan who wrote it. She is feeling guilty. First, she belittles my status, and then proves her and Han Zai's status. Literally, it means how could she initiate to seduce someone like me who is not up to par? But some attentive netizens dug deep into my copy and left a comment in the comments section asking her, was she really abandoned on the roadside? If she wasn't abandoned, how could she be pulled into the car? Yes, this is the loophole in the whole thing. Moving forward, some people began to question the authenticity of the rescue. From the jaws of the wolf. According to them, even if there was rape, the rescue came first. Seeing that there were dissenting voices, the two continued to use their money power. They quickly suppressed these comments. And they added to the copy, saying that there was just a minor conflict and they hadn't encountered any wolves along the way. The only wolf they encountered was me. Watching the videos, I can't help but laugh. With Han Zai's small mind, it was inevitable that he would punch and kick Lu Ruyan to force the truth out of her. Of course, this would definitely not affect the two getting married, because the initiative was in Han Zai's hands. And this Han Zai is very cunning. He would not let go of this opportunity to become famous on the internet. 13. The next day, I set off for Sea City. In the meantime, I had done a lot of disguising. I didn't want to be arrested as soon as I set foot in Sea City. 2 days later, I entered the territory of Sea City. I had already left the truck on the side of the road and entered on foot. The toll station didn't have the same scene as the arrest of a murderer, but there was still a check. But no one believed that I would turn myself in, so I didn't make much effort. I couldn't stay at a hotel. I found a shop and bought something to eat, and rested in the suburbs. Suddenly, a police car sped up. I got a shock and hurried towards the unfinished building on the east side. I thought about how I had planned for so long, and if I were caught now, it would most likely be in vain. I ran as fast as I could, and I didn't dare to stop even if I fell. I have never been so flustered. But as I ran, I noticed that the sound of the alarm behind me was getting farther and farther away. Breathing heavily, I turned around and laughed to myself. I had been so nervous, but they weren't coming for me. There were still 3 days until their wedding, and the online public opinion continued to ferment. I was about to release a small trick, but I needed to wait for an opportunity, an important opportunity. That was when they themselves announced the wedding date. I was afraid of ruining the big scene, so I had to wait until they announced it to the public before I could make a small impact. At around 10 p.m., I entered the live broadcast room of Han Zai and Lu Ruyan. The two were extremely affectionate in the public eye. But I, being observant, still noticed a faint bruise on Lu Ruyan's forehead. She was beaten, right? She must have been beaten by Han Zai because of my video. Some people in the audience below also asked, and the two of them just brushed it off as an accident. Following the usual procedure, the two of them first belittled and cursed me, and then insinuated in a strange and eerie way that the police were inefficient. After that, they got down to business. They announced that the wedding would be held in 3 days. 14. After they finished speaking, the audience went wild, elevating Han Zai to new heights. In their words, this is true love. Even after being raped, they can't stay apart. The two of them are also acting talents, and they actually hugged each other and cried together, putting on a big drama. A simple calculation shows that just this live broadcast has earned the two of them nearly 1 million rewards. It is no exaggeration to say that if they can maintain this level of popularity, a small goal for their future wealth will not be a problem. After the live broadcast ended, their accounts simultaneously updated the video to announce the wedding date. They also invited major anchors to attend. Everyone wanted to ride the wave of popularity, and many anchors followed suit, reposting and boasting about being invited. Very quickly. Hashtag Han Zai Red Heart Lu Ruyan's wedding date confirmed hashtag became a trending topic. I turned off my phone and smiled. I immediately uploaded a video, capturing a small part of the recorder. It was the part where I was beaten outside the car. And of course, the footage of Han Zai attacking with a knife. The internet exploded. 15. People were showing signs of being swayed. Before, they said I was lowly, and Han Zai and Lu Ruyan were noble and rich. It seemed like the rich were always the good guys and the righteous, and the poor were always the vulgar villains. But now, the wind had changed. A poor driver had been double-teamed by two rich people and verbally abused. Cheap sympathy instantly filled the internet. Netizens left comments saying that they had been cheated by Han Zai and Lu Ruyan, and that it was obvious that the two of them had bullied the poor driver. Some even directly logged into their short video accounts and left comments in the comments section of all the videos, demanding that the truth be revealed. So, as they say, the internet is a melting pot, and impulsive netizens can easily be led away. Those rational netizens, however, never shout online easily, but this silent majority is not counted in the public opinion balance. At around 3 a.m., unable to bear the pressure, Han Zai started broadcasting overnight. He started off by hurling insults. He said that I had started it, and that I was very strong, and that he had been beaten up unilaterally the whole time that day. As for the knife, it was also a helpless move in self-defense because he was outraged that his girlfriend had been raped. Han Zai spoke with conviction. He really wasn't pretending, and the guy was so angry that his face turned green. It's over. He started to recount how he was blackmailed and extorted, saying that it cost him 1.5 million to come back safely. The live broadcast had an effect, and netizens were torn. I bounced back and forth between the two sides on the short video platform. I asked this one, I asked that one. I'm too lazy to explain, the big move is coming. I just want to make Han Zai and Lu Ruyan feel bad. 16. Not long after the two of them went off the air, the person who had sent me the anonymous text message called me. I answered. "You son of a bitch, why is there a recorder in the car?" Lu Ruyan's voice. She must have called me behind Hanzai's back. She was in a hurry. I knew the ultimate question she wanted to ask, so I answered directly. "Not only is there one outside the car, there is also one inside." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line, and I could hear rapid breathing. After a long while, Lu Ruyan pretended to be very calm and asked me, "How much do you want to keep the video from being released?" "I'm already a wanted criminal. If I don't release the video, will I be on the run everywhere?" "You." Lu Ruyan was silent again, and her attitude suddenly changed the next second. "Big brother, it was my fault that day. I slandered you. I swear I will help you clear your name. Can you just leave me alone? The worst that can happen is that I'll let you screw me again. If that doesn't work, we can try again and again. You call the shots, okay? Ha ha." She's suddenly flirting with me, and it's hurting my back. She can't really think that sleeping with me a few times will solve this problem, can she? I hung up the phone. I silently ended the recording. Then I found Hanzai's contact information on the short video platform and sent the recording to him. Hanzai didn't reply. Silence is tonight's beating. 17. I almost didn't sleep all night, as Lu Ruyan called me countless times, growling in pain. I answered all of them. I recorded them. From time to time, I could hear Hanzai swearing. This cuckolded husband has truly revealed his true self. However, the two of them are still updating their short video platforms normally, and this incident has not been revealed in any way. Hanzai is determined to get his hands on this big piece of cake. But the two of them are still naive to a certain extent. Don't they want to know why I haven't exposed the recordings on the platform? Can't they see that I'm holding back a big move? Or do they have a backup plan? There is still one day until their wedding. The wedding preparations are going ahead as normal, and this is a live blog. I found out that my short video account has been blocked. This is very impressive, and a perfect demonstration of their financial power. Is this their backhand? But never mind, he has a good plan, and I have a way out. I tidied up my ragged clothes a little. I called the recruitment hotline of a certain 8 recruitment website. "Hello, I see you are looking for hourly workers for a big wedding tomorrow? I want to go. I just want to go and mingle with the leftovers from the rich family. The salary is not a problem, I will give it all to you after I get rich. Report to the west gate of the Huame International Hotel tomorrow." Okay, thanks. 18. On the day of the wedding, I got up very early, wearing a cap and a mask to cover myself up. First, I reported to the wedding company and volunteered to explain that I had previously worked as a sound engineer and could be in charge of the audio and video. The contractor was very happy to hear this and said that they were just short of someone to control the video playback. "See, here's your chance." I arrived at my workstation, but the bride and groom had not yet appeared. The master gave me a brief introduction to the playback process and went off to attend to other matters. I quickly got to work and quickly changed the video of the couple showing their affection in the process video to the video recorded by the in-car recorder. No problem, this is indeed a love video. After that, I leisurely sat at my workstation, facing the audience sideways. The major anchors entered one after the other. Long and short cameras were all set up. I paid attention with the corner of my eye, my mouth curling up. What a big scene! At 11 o'clock sharp, the bride and groom entered accompanied by the wedding march. The whole audience burst into thunderous applause. The parents of both sides were sitting on the high platform, their faces beaming with approval. Perhaps they felt that the green had surpassed the blue. Businessmen are simple-minded like that, not caring about the process, only the outcome. I continued to lower my head and silently waited for the moment of explosion. But I didn't expect that this guy, Hanzai, actually wanted to give a speech halfway through. This caused the edited video to have to be temporarily stopped. The chief engineer waved at me, and I pretended not to see it for the greater good, just pausing for a moment. The chief engineer became anxious all of a sudden and snuck up. "What are you doing, switching to the backup video?" He took over for me, and I was afraid that he would find out that the video had been tampered with, so I tried my best to show that I could operate it. As a result, the audience discovered this little episode. Hanzai and Lu Ruyan also looked over. I don't know if it was because the memory of the fish and water joy was so vivid, but Lu Ruyan immediately widened her eyes and said something to Han Zai. Han Zai shouted, "He is Su Chang, arrest this criminal, hurry." The security guards next to him hesitated for a moment, and immediately surrounded him from all directions. I immediately turned on the play button and forced the video to enter the playback process. I was tied up in 5 different ways and twisted and sent off the stage. Han Zai angrily shouted from the stage, saying that I had the nerve to show up and that someone should immediately call the police to arrest me. The security guards escorted me out, punching and kicking me. My heart was in my throat, and I kept looking back at the big screen. At that moment, Han Zai continued to yell, "First pause the video, what's wrong with your wedding company? Don't go, don't go. If the video is paused now, it will be too late." Although I still had a backup plan, there was absolutely nothing as satisfying as the bolt from the blue at that moment. Just as I was trying to break free, the love scene began to play, much to my embarrassment. I had edited it and played it backwards. At the beginning, it was the edited highlights. Her seduction of me, her words criticizing Han Zai for leaving her to die in the wilderness, and the breathless scenes of deep communication. I'm shy, so I encoded my face. Lu Ruyan has no shame, so I didn't code her face. Lu Ruyan panicked and shouted, "Stop." I laughed silently, "I can't stop, I can't stop." I bought a virus sync and installed it. The chief engineer was also a gossip, and when he found that he couldn't turn it off, he dawdled around and checked it for a long time. His peripheral vision kept glancing at the screen. The truth of the matter was gradually revealed as the video played. See, no man can resist the temptation of a little movie. Except that I was the fucking protagonist. 19. The security guards escorting me all turned around and let go of my hand. I quickly ran back and shouted that I was innocent. I also fought off several people who came up to stop me, using my body to protect the player and prevent them from cutting off the power supply. The elders in the high positions had already turned ashen. Han Zai was desperate, so he picked up a bench and smashed the display. The scene was in chaos. The major anchors looked at each other, holding back laughter, which was quite difficult. But it got even harder immediately afterwards. Because the live broadcast room was completely blocked, it was pornographic. I was taken into custody to the police station, but this was a different time, and I could blatantly show them the video. I made hundreds of backups and hid hundreds of copies. I wasn't afraid that the video would be deleted by mistake. In addition, I explained everything, saying that the 1.5 million was a gift of gratitude from Han Zai to me, as a reward for saving Lu Ruyan. I didn't expect him to turn the tables on me. I was temporarily released, and if there are any problems, I will be contacted for a statement. In fact, this is already a win. When I got home, the video network had already exploded. Everywhere was the voice of Han Zai and Lu Ruyan. Before that, the original complete video I uploaded on the dark web was also dug up by the omnipotent netizens. The old drivers retweeted it one after another. Han Zai and Lu Ruyan's personas completely collapsed. The stock price of the Han Group plummeted. Because it was also involved in the underworld, after being pushed to the forefront, major partners issued announcements severing their cooperation with the Han Group in order to protect themselves. Before that, the gang rape of a young girl by Han Zai and the forcing of old man Lu to go mad were re-investigated. Lu Ruyan, this ungrateful ingrate, can be considered to have thoroughly worn the hat of a bitch. It was a foregone conclusion that her parents, who were senior executives, would be fired. She was also banned because of the influence of the video. Because of the slander, she was imprisoned for a period of time. After she got out, I heard that she moved to another country because she was too busy. She has no place to stand in her home country. But she may have forgotten that Chinese people are all over the world. Almost everyone who can access the internet knows about this incident, so it's useless for her to run away. My former boss of a transportation company was also dubbed an insult to migrant workers by netizens because of the recording of him scolding me and withholding my wages. His reputation collapsed, and the company went bankrupt and closed down directly. This incident originally had nothing to do with him, and it was only natural that he would be afraid of causing trouble and provoking big shots. But he should never have embezzled my wages. This really poked the lung tube of the majority of social animals. How dare he embezzle hard-earned money? He has to die. Time passed quickly, and another 6 months went by. The Han Group was insolvent and finally went bankrupt. It was also investigated jointly by relevant departments. Han Zai's biological father, Han Zhong, and biological mother were also arrested on suspicion of tax evasion and false accounting. Han Zai was sentenced along with the rest of the family. Han Zai was found guilty of gang rape, and a bunch of other dirty secrets were dug up. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison for multiple crimes. Han Zhong was found guilty of being involved in organized crime and gang rape, and was sentenced to 30 years in prison. If he behaves well, he might be able to get out of prison at the same time as his son. Han Zai's mother was sentenced to 5 years in prison and fined 5 million for her accounting fraud. Since I caught them off guard, and the whole family went to the sewing machine, they didn't have a chance to transfer their assets. Therefore, the 5 million is not a small amount for them, who are already bankrupt. When these 3 people get out, they will all be old. They really deserve it. As for me, I received some compensation for mental distress. Even the 1.5 million was deemed to have been obtained legally and was not recovered. We moved into a new home, and my father's illness was cured. Now I spend my time streaming live. Not for anything else, just so that Lu Ruyan, who is far away, can taste the side effects brought about by the internet. I refused the netizens' overwhelming rewards. I really can't eat this bun made of my own blood. In my previous life, I drove my parents to their deaths, and they were accomplices. Such is the world. But I also know that sooner or later, those impulsive, rumor-mongering online mobs will also pay the price. Because it is always their own character that determines their future lives. How can a narrow-minded and blind person possibly live a good life? Later, something interesting happened. Lu Ruyan had entered the country illegally. It was fine at first, but unfortunately she was too well known. She was exposed by netizens and then directly deported back to China. Not long after she returned, she was besieged by keyboard warriors and molested by wolf friends. In the end, she couldn't bear the pressure of falling from heaven to hell, and chose to slit her wrists and commit suicide. For me, this was the perfect ending to the story. The hell I had experienced, they finally got to experience too. You reap what you sow. What goes around comes around. Extra. I had a dream. In the dream, not long after my parents died, an old friend posted a bloodstained letter written by my mother before she died on the internet on Mother's Day. The letter told of the family's grievances and hardships and firmly believed in my innocence. The mother's love for her son and her belief in him triggered an online sensation. At the same time, the police, who had been investigating secretly, finally found my truck after expending a lot of manpower and resources. They dug further to uncover the truth. Han Zai and Lu Ruyan were arrested. The day the announcement was made, a certain blog went directly into paralysis. Countless people posted their condolences and reflections on the internet. But soon after, there were new hot searches. My story gradually faded into the internet abyss. When I woke up, I broke down and cried for a long time. I knew it wasn't a dream. It was a parallel world, the real-life aftermath. In that time and space, I finally got justice. But what's the point? My home was destroyed after all. Fortunately, I can live again. From now on, I will live well, with my family.